The most profitable thing Jesse Livermore ever did was nothing. Not a trade, not an entry, not a brilliant prediction. Nothing. Sitting, waiting, watching. And that single skill, the one nobody wants to hear about, made him more money than every clever idea he ever had. He said it himself. "It never was my thinking that made the big money for me. It always was my sitting." Read that again. The greatest speculator of the 20th century admitted that his fortune came not from action, but from restraint. And yet, here you are, checking charts every 15 minutes, refreshing your watch list, feeling that itch in your fingers when price starts moving without you, telling yourself that this candle, this bounce, this breakout, this one is worth taking. Even though deep down, you know it isn't your setup. You know you're forcing it. You know you're gambling, but you click anyway. This video is about the single most expensive addiction in trading, the addiction to action, and the single most underpaid, undervalued, unglamorous skill that separates the professionals from the dead accounts: waiting. By the end of this, you'll understand why the market is specifically engineered to punish the impatient, why your brain is biologically wired to sabotage you, and how the discipline of doing nothing, absolutely nothing, until your exact setup appears, is the closest thing to a holy grail that exists in this business. Let's begin with the illusion. The illusion. More trades means more money. Every beginner walks into the market with the same broken math in their head. They think trading is like a job. More hours, more effort, more activity equals more income. If one trade can make $100, then 10 trades can make 1,000. If trading 1 hour a day is good, trading 8 hours a day must be 8 times better. It feels logical. It feels like hard work. It feels like everything society taught them about success. It is completely, catastrophically wrong. Trading is one of the only professions on earth where doing more usually earns you less, where effort, measured in clicks and entries, correlates negatively with profit, where the hardest workers, the ones glued to their screens taking 15 trades a day, are almost always the ones wiring money to the ones who take 3 trades a week. Think about that. The market inverts everything you've been taught. In school, the student who answers more questions scores higher. In a factory, the worker who produces more units earns more. But in trading, the person who acts most frequently is simply exposing themselves to more randomness, more spread, more commissions, more slippage, more emotional damage, and more opportunities to break their own rules. Every unnecessary trade is a tax. A tax on your capital and a tax on your psychology. The retail trader believes the market is a slot machine that pays out for pulling the lever. The professional knows the market is a hunting ground, and the hunter who fires at every rustle in the bushes goes home with an empty bag and no ammunition. The core problem: why you cannot sit still. Now let's talk about why you can't wait. Because this isn't a strategy problem. You already know your setup. You could probably draw it from memory. You know what it looks like, what conditions it needs, what confirmation you're supposed to wait for. Knowledge is not your problem. Your problem is that your brain treats waiting as pain. Human beings are wired for action. For hundreds of thousands of years, survival meant responding to movement. See prey, chase it. See threat, run. The nervous system that kept your ancestors alive rewards you with dopamine every time you act on a stimulus. and the market is nothing but stimulus, flashing prices, moving candles, news alerts. A 24-hour machine of movement, specifically presented to you in colors, green and red, chosen to trigger emotional response. Every time price moves without you, your brain interprets it as loss. Scientists call it regret aversion and fear of missing out, but Livermore knew it 100 years before the studies existed. He watched men in bucket shops destroy themselves, not because their analysis was wrong, but because they could not tolerate the sight of a moving price without being part of it. The movement itself was the drug, and here's the cruel part. Sometimes the impulsive trade wins. That's the trap. If forcing trades always lost, you'd stop quickly. But the market pays out just often enough to keep you hooked. Psychologists call it intermittent reinforcement, the same mechanism that powers casinos and slot machines. A random reward schedule is the most addictive schedule that exists. The market is, structurally, the largest intermittent reinforcement machine ever built. When your forced trade wins, your brain doesn't record, "I got lucky breaking my rules." It records, "Acting on impulse works." And that lesson, repeated a few times, becomes a habit. And that habit, repeated a few hundred times, becomes a blown account. So understand this clearly. Your inability to wait is not a character flaw unique to you. It is the default setting of the human brain. The market doesn't beat traders because they're stupid. It beats them because it is perfectly designed to exploit machinery that every human carries. The impatient are not unlucky. They are the product. Their impulsiveness is the raw material that the entire industry refines into profit. The hidden mechanism. Who gets paid? When you can't wait, follow the money. Every trade you take pays someone. The broker collects commission. The market maker collects spread. And the institution on the other side of your impulsive entry collects your position at a price they chose, not you. Here is what the impatient trader never sees. The big players, the funds, the banks, the algorithmic desks cannot enter the market the way you do. They move size so large that they need thousands of small traders on the other side. They need liquidity. And the most reliable source of liquidity is the crowd of retail traders who cannot wait. The ones who buy the breakout the second it pierces the level. Before confirmation, before retest, before structure. The ones who sell the panic low. The ones who chase. When price approaches an obvious level, the impatient rush in. The institutions let them. Then price sweeps just beyond the level, hitting the early stops, trapping the eager longs, shaking out the weak, and then, only then, does the real move begin. You've seen this 1,000 times. You've been the victim of it 1,000 times. The entry you took was real. The direction was even right, but the timing was early, and early is just a polite word for wrong. You were the liquidity. Your impatience was the product being harvested. Now flip it around. What does the trader who waits actually get? They get the entry after the trap has sprung, after the fake-out, after the shakeout, after the impatient have been carried out. Their setup, the full setup with confirmation, appears precisely because the impatient crowd created it. The patient trader isn't just avoiding mistakes. The patient trader is literally being paid by the impatient ones. Patience is not passive in this business. Patience is a position. Waiting is a weapon. This is the hidden mechanism nobody explains to beginners. The market transfers money from the impatient to the patient, with the same certainty that gravity pulls water downhill. It has always worked this way. It will always work this way, because impatience is human, and humans keep arriving in the market every single day. The evidence, Livermore's sitting. Let's ground this in the man himself. Jesse Livermore made his first fortunes as a young man reading tape in bucket shops, trading fast, trading often, and he went broke, more than once. The turning point in his development, the moment he became the Livermore of legend, was when he understood the difference between his quick, frequent scalps and the big money. In Reminiscences of a Stock Operator, there's a character called Old Partridge, the old man in the brokerage office that the young traders mocked. Whenever someone gave him a tip or urged him to take profits and re-enter lower, Old Partridge gave the same maddening answer. "It's a bull market, you know." The young traders laughed at him. They thought he was senile, too slow to trade actively. What Livermore eventually understood was that Old Partridge was the only rich man in the room. The old man had learned, through decades of pain, that the big money was never in the in and out trading. It was in sitting through the major move, in refusing to be shaken out, in waiting to enter until conditions were right, and waiting in the position while it worked. Livermore's greatest trades were monuments of patience. Before the 1907 crash, he didn't just short blindly because he felt bearish. He probed, he tested, he waited for the market itself to confirm the weakness. When his early probes were stopped out, he stepped back and waited more. Only when price action confirmed, when the market began to fall under its own weight, did he press with size. The result was one of the most profitable short campaigns in history. The same pattern in 1929. Livermore spent months watching, testing small, waiting for distribution to complete, waiting for the leaders to break. When the crash finally came, he was positioned, not because he predicted the date, but because he had waited for the market to reveal itself. He walked away with roughly $100 million while the world burned. In today's money, well over $1 billion. And here's the sobering counterweight. When Livermore lost fortunes, and he did repeatedly, it was almost always because he violated his own rule. Trading when there was no setup, acting on boredom, on ego, on tips, on the need to be involved. The man who codified patience was destroyed every time he abandoned it. If the greatest tape reader who ever lived couldn't survive impatience, what makes you think you can? The two traders, a tale you already know. Picture two traders. Same strategy, same capital, same market. The first trader, call him Jake, sits down every morning determined to make money today. That's his frame, today. The market opens, price wobbles, and within 20 minutes, Jake has a position. Not because his setup appeared, but because sitting there doing nothing felt like failure. The trade chops him out. Annoyed, he enters again, this time to win it back. Another small loss. By noon, Jake has taken 6 trades, is down 2%, and is now trading not the chart, but his own emotions. By the close, he's down 4%, exhausted, and promising himself he'll be disciplined tomorrow. He won't be, because tomorrow he'll sit down with the same frame, make money today. The second trader, call him Marcus, sits down every morning with a different frame. Protect capital today, and take the setup if it appears. That last part matters, if. Marcus accepts, before the market opens, that today might contain 0 trades. He watches the same open Jake watched. He sees the same wobbles. He recognizes that none of them are his setup, and he does nothing. For 3 days, he does nothing. His account doesn't move. On the 4th day, The market sets up exactly as his plan describes. The level, the confirmation, the structure, all aligned. He enters once, with full size with a clear stop. The trade runs. In one position, Marcus makes more than Jake's entire month of frantic activity, and Jake's month was negative. Over a year, Jake takes over 1,000 trades and loses money. Marcus takes maybe 80 and compounds steadily. Same strategy, same market. The entire difference is that Marcus could wait and Jake could not. The strategy was never the edge. The waiting was the edge. The paradigm shift. Redefine what trading is. Here is the mental shift that changes everything. Stop thinking of yourself as a trader whose job is to trade. Start thinking of yourself as a risk manager whose job is to say no. Say no to every setup that is almost right. No to every move that leaves without you. No to every itch, every urge, every whisper of just this once. A sniper does not fire at everything that moves. He may lie motionless for days, for a single shot. And when the shot comes, it's not exciting. It's routine, because everything was decided in advance. The waiting was the work. The trigger pull was just the receipt. That is trading done correctly. The entry is not the job. The entry is the last 3 seconds of the job. The job is the days of disciplined observation that made the entry obvious. And here's what nobody tells you. When you truly trade only your setup, entries stop being emotional at all. There is no anxiety at the moment of entry because there was no decision at the moment of entry. The decision was made long ago, written in your plan, defined in advance. Price either presents your conditions or it doesn't. You either act or you don't. The market becomes binary. Setup or no setup. Trade or no trade. All the gray areas, the maybes, the it kind of looks like, the I have a feeling, those gray areas are where all your losses live. Eliminate the gray and you eliminate most of the bleeding. Practically, this means 3 things. First, define your setup so precisely that a stranger could look at your chart and tell you whether it's present. If your setup can't be written as a checklist, you don't have a setup, you have a mood. Second, track every trade you take against that checklist. Mark each one, setup or impulse. Within 30 days, your own journal will show you the brutal truth. Your setup trades are profitable, and your impulse trades are the entire reason you're losing. You don't need a new strategy. You need to stop taking the trades your strategy never asked for. Third, measure your discipline, not your profit. On a day with no setup, doing nothing is a perfect trading day. 0 trades, executed flawlessly. Grade yourself on obedience to the plan, and the money becomes a side effect, the deeper truth. Waiting builds the trader. Not just the trade, there's one more layer, and it goes beyond the charts. The ability to wait, to sit in discomfort without acting, to watch opportunity pass and feel nothing, to trust a process across weeks of boredom. That ability doesn't just make you a better trader. It makes you a different kind of human being. The same weakness that makes you chase candles makes you chase everything. Purchases you don't need, arguments you don't need, shortcuts that cost you years. Impatience is not a trading flaw. It's a life flaw that trading exposes and monetizes against you. The market, in this sense, is the most honest mirror you will ever face. It doesn't care about your excuses, your intentions, your potential. It pays you exactly what your discipline is worth, every single day, in cold numbers. Most people spend their whole lives never receiving honest feedback. Traders receive it every session, and the ones who grow are the ones who stop arguing with the mirror. Livermore understood that speculation was a battle with oneself. The tape was easy. The self was hard. 100 years of technology has changed everything about the markets, the speed, the instruments, the access, and changed nothing about this. The candles are faster now. The humans watching them are exactly the same. The profound conclusion here is the whole lesson, compressed. The market pays for precision, not participation. Every fortune ever pulled out of speculation was built on a foundation of trades not taken. Your setup is your edge, but your patience is the only thing that delivers the edge to your account. Without waiting, the best strategy on earth is just a decorated way to lose money. Nobody is coming to make you wait. No indicator will wait for you. No mentor can sit on your hands for you. The discipline of doing nothing is yours alone to build. One boring, uneventful, profitable day at a time. Say it with me. Slowly, because this is the entire video in 3 lines. No setup, no trade. The waiting is the work. The market transfers money from the impatient to the patient, every day, forever. Now be honest with me in the comments. How many of your last 10 trades were actually your setup? And how many were boredom wearing a disguise? Write the real number, because the traders who can admit it are the only ones who ever fix it. If you want the complete framework, how to define your setup as a checklist, how to journal discipline instead of profit, how to build the patience muscle systematically, the link is in the description, and subscribe. Because next, we go deeper. The price action secrets Livermore used to find perfect entries, how to read what the market is actually saying instead of what you hope it's saying. Until then, remember, the market doesn't reward the active. It rewards the accurate. Sit. Wait. Strike once. That's the formula.